All right, Popeye's here. Get your hands on your heads, get off the bar, and get on the podcast. The French Connection is coming up next.
Haven't Seen It with Tim Sestito and Tommy Tevenet. Hello, everybody. Welcome on in. Thank you all so much for listening today. This is a podcast where one of us is watching a movie for the very first time. I believe that is myself, that is Tommy, and joining us upstairs, Steve. Hello, upstairs, Steve. Is this all three of your first time French connecting it?
Hello,
Yeah,
hello.
never
Yes, it
connected with the
is.
French before. Can't
I
say I connected with them.
no parlez-vous français here.
No parlez-vous français.
No.
We'll get into that. But we were having a conversation before about a term called word vomiting.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Tommy
We're
actually. Well, speaking of vomiting, Tommy almost actually really vomited after that tequila shot I just saw. That.
on mic where I was muted and started coughing up, and Tim was like focused on the intro, but like fucking, I could see Steve not on mute, but he was trying his hardest not to laugh and start dying laughing in the middle.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's the best. Is like you just like all right.
I'm going to end up being a babysitter tonight more than a host. But anyway, um, we were talking about this term word vomiting because viewers, I know you have come to love Tommy's terrible, just horrendous puns at the beginning of our episodes here. And we were telling because we were talking Steve through our process here, how rigorous, how well researched it is.
Yeah,
It's definitely not put together like 2 minutes before we hit
it's not
record.
me
No.
scrolling the IMDb quotes page and be like, "Oh,
No,
this one could
it
work as a pun."
it it always comes from a source of inspiration. It always connects with us. It's something that really
Off
just
the dome.
It's
strikes with us within us. But
Tommy looks through quotes and he's like, "Where can I insert the word podcast and have it make sense?" That's the
correct,
process.
Yeah,
correct. But we were talking about how many takes it sometimes takes, Tommy. Because sometimes we will go two or three times on a roll, like where Tommy will just go, and then we're sitting there. I'm sitting there like Tommy, cut. We're just gonna start this over. Three, two, one. I will edit this part out. Three, two, one.
Use your words.
Use your words. Use them fully.
Because
Um,
he gets so excited that like he'll like
yeah.
he'll read it way too fast and then he won't realize until after the fact or won't realize at all because we have to tell him that it's actually incoherent and
Hey, Tommy, you might need to slow down a little bit.
just a tad he's just so excited to deliver the pun that he just came up with that it's he has to get it out so hence the word vomit and then he took the tequila shot which almost forced him to actually vomit so you see the
We're
parallels here.
playing on high stakes here for the French Connection. We're
Yeah,
this is prime podcasting for you. Make sure that you're aware.
yeah.
okay, so in stark contrast to this conversation, we added this to the repertoire after the passing of Gene Hackman and the more and more information that comes out about his passing. It's very sad. It's there's
Yeah,
clearly
where are we at with that now? Yeah,
it.
I've heard a lot of
So
stories.
the thing is the wife was, I believe, the primary caretaker, and she got some like very sick, like got very sick from some disease or like virus that comes from mice. So
Huh.
Yeah, like
she was bedridden. Gene has Alzheimer's, and he was bedridden. And the whole thing is just very upsetting, especially for such an iconic figure like Gene Hackman. But the nice thing is we get to go back and celebrate his work, like we will tonight with the French Connection. Boys, let's just do some general Gene Hackman thoughts if you have any. I think this is the second time we're covering him on the pod. We covered Unforgiven very early on in this show's history, and
yep.
now we are covering the French Connection. We probably need to start adding more Gene Hackman roles, movies into this podcast because he is just truly a terrific actor in this, and you immediately feel the star presence in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, Gene Hackman is like a real, they don't make him like they used to kind of guy. Or like just a so like surly son of a bitch in so many roles, and even on set of like roles. There's a story where like on the set of the Royal Tenenbaums, where Ben Stiller was working up the courage to tell Gene Hackman about how much the Poseidon Adventure meant to him, and he was like, "I gotta tell this to Gene Hackman. Like, I gotta tell him how this movie made me want to be a filmmaker, how I really like was inspired by all this." So he goes up to Gene Hackman on the second day before the second final day of shooting, and he tells Gene Hackman all this. He's like, "Poseidon Adventure was like an incredible movie for me. It's so inspirational." And Gene Hackman just looks at him and says, "Yeah, that was a money picture."
Oh, wow.
Immediately, like, I did that shit for money, dude. Like, I don't care. Like, fucking move on. There's so many great stories like that where, like, he told Sam Raimi once when Sam Raimi wanted him to do a bunch of camera shit for The Quick and the Dead. He pulled out, he's like, "Okay, so Gene, you're gonna close in on this shot, and you're gonna pull your pistol out of your pocket here, and then you're gonna go to the left, you're gonna do this, and you're gonna move to the right." And Gene Hackman looked at him and said, "I'm not doing any of that, man." So
What a boss.
me,
You
like,
gotta
fuck that.
you gotta love it. And in any film that you've seen Gene Hackman in, you always feel like you're getting his best from him.
Oh
Um,
yeah, 100%. I mean, I watched Superman over the weekend, and his Lex Luthor was just so much fun. He's like such a great little villain, like a guy you just love to hate. I mean, even in Quick and the Dead, he was like that. I've been on so many runs of his lately with like The Package, now this. He's been in so many great movies. It's a real presence that he's missed. And it's insane to think his last movie was
is
Welcome
Welcome
to
to
Mooseport
Mooseport. Yeah.
with Ray Romano. And after that, he's like, "I'm retired. I'm
I remember
done."
seeing that in theaters, by the way.
Oh, you
Wow.
saw that in theaters?
I
How was
saw
That
it?
was
that.
in 2004. You
Yeah, I
were,
saw that in theaters with my mom. I distinctly remember it because
yeah, it had to have been like 12. Jesus.
they were big Everyone Loves Raymond fans, or Everybody Loves Raymond fans.
Well, we all love Ray.
So Tommy,
Oh, yeah.
actually, touching on movies we saw lately, Superman, 1978, Gene Hackman iconically as Lex Luthor. Like, when was the last time you watched the Christopher Reeve Superman movie?
For me, it was about like probably like 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh wow.
For the first time. Because
For
I
the
think at the
first
time
time?
Ned, yeah, first time. And that was because Ned Beatty died. This is before we started the podcast, I think, if
Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
remembering correctly. Because like you would definitely have been like, "We're watching Superman right now." But I watched it like years ago when Ned Beatty died, and then I was like, "All right, now Gene Hackman's dead. Like, I gotta watch this again." And I just think everything about that movie. I mean, it's gonna be interesting. I think it's a movie we should find someone to that hasn't seen that movie and cover that for when the new Superman movie comes out, because it's gonna be interesting to see the comparisons. Christopher Reeve is just such a great physical actor in a way that like I feel like more modern Supermans haven't been, where like, you see the difference between him and his Clark Kent and his Superman. He's all hunched over and so meek when he's like Clark Kent, and when he's Superman, he's just like a better word, Superman. He just stands up straight, fucking like great, and like the guy you want to see is like fucking the all American Boy Scout back then. So incredible movie, just really fun, and like I just love Christopher Reeve. I can't wait to check out more of his stuff.
Upstairs, Steve, have you ever seen the Christopher Reeve Superman?
I only watched the TV show when it was like black and
Oh,
white.
there we go. We
Yeah.
got our guy. We got our
Yeah.
guy. Sometime,
So
whenever it's coming
So
out,
yeah,
July,
yeah,
Upstairs Steve will be on the podcast for Superman.
there you go. Yeah.
We're
So
booking you. We're booking you in advance. But what movies have you watched recently?
um just we're going completely on a hard, real sharp left here from Christopher Reeve's Superman. Immediately after watching The French Connection last night, I watched Fury with Brad Pitt, that World War II tank movie.
That's a
It's
very interesting double feature, but please expand.
Oh man. Well, I needed a little something after the whole how much money they invested in red paint in the French Connection for blood. And I'm like, I was still jonesing for a little bit of action, but I needed something outside of 1971 action. So, I went with Fury, and it's got Brad Pitt starring in it. It's basically about a company of like infantry soldiers that are commandeering a tank that's called Fury, that they named Fury. Shia LaBeouf is in it. What's his name? Michael Pena is in it. Everybody loves him. John Barthenol, fucking Punisher's in it. And it's basically them four, and then they take on this like new kid who essentially was a typewriter for the army, I guess, army, Marines, whatever the fuck they were. And he's having trouble killing people, which doesn't really sit right with them, and drama ensues. But it's a fun movie, fun action movie. It definitely is one of those fun blockbuster like army military movies, a lot of gore, and just generally fun to watch. So definitely check it out. It's on Netflix. So that's where I went. But
Yeah, you're like, now I need a World War II movie to calm me down from the French Connection.
Right before I go to bed after the French Connection,
Yeah.
the tension
Yeah.
of the French Connection was just too much.
it put me right out. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm sure it did.
Nothing like killing Nazis to make you fall asleep.
Listen, I fall asleep to Stalingrad documentaries more than enough times. Then I can't even.
It
count
just
how
happens
much
when you hit your 30s and all of a sudden become really interested in World War II.
Oh, dude, any documentary, man. I could watch like, fucking ghost hunters. I could watch a documentary about fucking aliens and I'll fall asleep like a baby.
Is
I don't even
Ghost
care.
Hunters really a documentary, or is it just like a fake?
Well, no, it's a total fake, but I could even watch a documentary on ghosts. I don't give a fuck.
Fair enough.
Some people that shit keeps you up. Me, it soothes me. It fucking possess me. I don't give a fuck. I'm tired.
Fair enough.
Yes.
To tonal whiplash, both of you, a few nights ago, I watched The Blues Brothers, one of my all-time favorites growing up.
Great movie.
Absolutely loved The Blues Brothers.
Can't go wrong
In my
there.
early
Were,
teenage
were, were
years.
we talking about covering that? Because I watched that for the first time like maybe 3 months ago.
There it is. It's the word vomit.
Yeah.
It's the word vomit. There it
Yeah,
is.
no, but literally. I mean, I remember, like
Well,
3 months ago,
well,
I watched
well,
this movie for the first time, back in like November, and
Well,
it's
I was
such a.
just I was talking, but yes, it is very fun, Tommy. Thank you.
I know. I was saying that we were talking about like covering it, and then we never did. We never got around to that. So that's another one we can get deep in the rotation because
possible. You know what you guys should watch? Speaking
Remind
of,
me to prohibit the sale of tequila in the state of Connecticut. Like, just remind me to take it up with.
this is only 2 shots in. We're
Tommy will
yeah.
find another way.
If
Tommy
you
will
take
find another way.
take another one, this episode will not finish. It'll be me pulling you to the end of this episode, Tommy.
virtually slapping me, just like stop.
You
Yes.
find another way. Trust me.
Yes, essentially. I love this movie. I I think it's a funny movie. I don't know if it's like it's so dry. The humor is so dry in this movie though. It's pretty wild. Like when it's the first big SNL movie. I think part of the reason I wanted to watch it again because it had probably been like 10 plus years for me since I watched Blues Brothers. Then they had the SNL 50 event coming up.
That was good actually. I
But
watched
yeah.
that.
The music is so I forgot how good the music in that
Oh
movie.
yeah,
It's incredible. It's probably one of the original
like
soundtracks.
last scene concert is just so much fun. Just constantly, just like wall to wall bangers over and over.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
you get Minnie the Moocher, everybody
Yeah.
needs somebody, and then Sweet Home Chicago, which is it makes me wish I almost wish I was from Chicago just so I could have that song be like my anthem everywhere. Just that.
I'm actually flying to Chicago tomorrow too, so I actually might do that with my AirPods.
You probably should. You will not regret it. But really fun movie. You get to see Carrie Fisher with an RPG. That's not something you'd probably expect from the Blues Brothers movie if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
And kind of in connection to the French Connection, I would say they're probably in the top five. Both of these movies are in the top five of car chase movies.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Oh, 100%. I was thinking about the Blues Brothers when we were watching the French
The
Connection.
Blues Brothers.
That's what reminded me to mention it on the podcast when I was watching it. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, wow, there's like a lot of like you had your Chicago car chase and your New York car chase, and then they made those two movies, and they were like, we're never having a car chase in a city ever again. So
Yeah.
Blues Brothers, I love that movie. Please go check it out. I believe it is streaming on Amazon Prime. That is where I watched it.
You know what you should watch real quick before we get into French Connection. Have you watched Saturday Night yet?
Yeah, I saw
Still
that.
no.
There's-
What'd you guys think? I actually really liked it.
I
It,
haven't
it was
seen
fun,
it.
but it was kind of a like I had a good time sitting there, but it was kind of an in one ear out the other kind of movie.
Yeah, I think it was cool watching like how it all kind of went down, and I also thought it was cool seeing all these no-name actors portray all these like iconic people in Hollywood, or just in comedy. But like I thought the real connection there was that like back in 1975, all these iconic people, all these Chevy Chases of the world and Dan Aykroyd's of the world, they were kind of nobodies. So you're kind of watching it thinking like, oh, like look at these like, fresh young new actors portraying these iconic people
There
in comedy,
I'm trying to remember the cast. I mean, it had the kid who's in everything nowadays. He's kind of like little playing Lorne. The Cooper Hoffman, who was Dick Vermeil. The guy who played Chevy was really good in that movie, like really, really good.
Yeah, he
Um,
really embodied it. Same the guy that played what's his name? Uh,
what's the guy from New Girl, Lamorne
that's
Davis?
a
Oh,
Tom. That's a Tommy
Lamar
question.
Morris.
Lamorris Davis. He was in
Lamar, no, that's not
uh,
Lamar Morris.
Lamorne Morris. Okay, that's what it was. I haven't watched New Girls in years, so apologies, Lamore, if you're listening.
I,
Um,
I thought the guy that played Belushi was incredible. That's
yeah,
what I
the
was
guy who
going to
played
say.
Belushi. I remember after I watched that, I ended up watching the Showtime documentary on Belushi, just because I love Belushi, and I feel like he's one of those guys that would have been such an icon if he didn't succumb to his demons, because he really was like an artist in his heart, and we all respect that about Belushi. But yeah, Saturday night's all right. But let's talk about a better movie because we are covering The French Connection.
All right, Popeye's here. Your hands on your heads. Get off the bar and get on the wall. Don't stop.
Winner of 5 Academy Awards, Gene Hackman, The French Connection. Viewer discretion advised due to mature theme of this program.
The Thursday night movie on CBS.
So all I could find was a 1975 TV spot when they were going to air this on TV. I don't know how you would air this on. I guess it's not really that curse heavy. It's just violent, I suppose. But
Yeah.
for those who don't know, The French Connection is a 1971 action thriller film. It's directed by William Friedkin. This is our third Friedkin, by the way. We did Exorcist, we
Yep.
did Sorcerer. Now we're at The French Connection here. And it's based on a true story around two narcotic detectives, Eddie Popeye Egan, played by Gene Hackman, and Sonny Grosso, played by Roy Scheider, as they discover a French smuggling scheme to bring heroin into New York City. This movie, this is one of those movies that I feel like we were talking about this with Ghost last week, where we were saying like it kind of fell out of the cultural zeitgeist.
Mhm.
Like this movie was huge. Like this in 1971, this movie was made for 1.8 to 2.2 million dollars. It earned 75 million dollars worldwide. It won Best Picture at the Oscars with all relatively unknowns. Like this was Gene Hackman's breakout, Roy Scheider's breakout, William Friedkin's breakout movie. Like this was all of their
Wow.
breakouts, and I think to me it is such a lightning not lightning in the bottle, but it basically set the archetype for every 90s action thriller to ever get made. Like
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I
it
mean,
was the playbook, man. Like I saw so many movies in the French, like so many movies drawing from the French Connection. It's pretty
Yeah.
crazy to me, like that this is just one of those cultural gaps. And I feel like it's a movie, it's over 50 years old, but do you feel like it gets the respect it deserves? Still
not at all. I mean, this kind of reminds me of how Halloween. I remember I showed a friend Halloween after I showed him a bunch of other like random slasher movies, like the Elm Streets, the Screams, and all those. They watch Halloween. He's like, "Oh, this movie is just like not as good as the other ones," and it's like kind of cliche. It's like, no, this invented the cliches in a way, and this feels like how French Connection feels. Like in terms of like the cop, the like Sergeant Cop who like is immediately pissed off at them and be like, "Oh, dude's like." But I like the turn that he wasn't pissed off at them for being reckless, more so like you're just arresting like people that don't like fucking matter that much. Like, why do you care about these joint peddlers? Or like this guy had 3 joints in him. Whoop de doo, you arrested him. What the fuck do you want? But in a way, I feel like this movie like just had an amazing car chase. It doesn't get talked enough, nearly enough as it should. I feel like, and overall, just still a fun movie.
Yeah. Steve, for you, like what were your initial just takeaways from the film?
I mean, like I when you described it as lightning in a bottle, and then you kind of like retracted that statement, I didn't necessarily disagree with you.
Oh, there's definitely, I think every good movie ever made is lightning in a bottle. It is.
Well, yeah, no, but like you got to think about when it came out. We're talking about 1971 here, and I mean, like when you like think back to like movies with that much like grit, action, and violence, and then you throw in a car chase in there. I mean, like closest thing I can really think of is like Easy Rider, maybe. Like, that has that kind that like checks all those boxes, but a lot more like, focus on like, drugs and shit like that. But yeah, like I mean, I watched it thinking like, all right, like this is a 1971 sort of action movie. I'm not going to set my expectations too high because I don't think that this genre really had been perfected at the time, but you can definitely see how it kind of created the framework for a lot of those like action dramas in the future, kind of like you mentioned, like it really did kind of set the playbook for a lot of 90s ones as well.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah,
and it should be mentioned too that this is a very like transitionary time for Hollywood. Like you had Thelma and Louise come out in what is it, 66, 67. That was kind of like
You
this
mean Bonnie and Clyde? That one,
Bonnie
Luis,
and
is in the
Clyde.
90s.
Okay.
yeah,
And Gene Hackman was in Bonnie and Clyde. That's like
he
one of
was.
his first roles. And it's kind of forgotten that way. When they're going through the obituaries of Gene Hackman, and they said Bonnie and Clyde, I was like, I didn't realize he was in that. And he got nominated for an Academy Award for that too.
Yeah, he had gotten nominated. He just he I was like reading up on Gene Hackman. He'd never really gotten consistent work. And I
Hmm.
watched a behind the scenes, like I had the Blu-ray, from like when we were cleaning out my grandfather's house. Like we found a copy of The French Connection. We probably bought it for him for Christmas 10 years ago. It was still in the saran wrap. Like he never touched the disc. I was like, all right, well, I've heard this is a really good movie. I'll take it, sure. So I
Yeah.
had this nice like bonus disc for it. Gene Hackman was like the 10th choice. The
Hmm.
actual detectives were considered to play themselves in the movie before Gene Hackman and Roy Scheider, which is just insane to think about.
Rankin did not want Hackman whatsoever. I mean, he was looking at Paul Newman. Paul Newman was too expensive. He
Well,
wanted
so
like, yeah,
the bit, what they said in the documentary was that the studio wanted Paul Newman. They wanted this, but they said that Friedkin and the producer, Phil D'Antoni, really, really wanted unknowns. They wanted people to like fill these characters, and they had Eddie Egan and Sonny Grosso on set. And we'll talk about the car chase in a little bit because
Well, it
I don't
also
want
speaks
I don't want
to.
to spoil the dinner.
No, definitely don't do that. But I think it speaks to Hackman's legacy too, because this is his breakout role here. He was 41 years old when he took the lead on this. I mean, like
He was
that's
41 years old and had 2 Academy Award nominations under his belt and was still just kind of seen as like a guy. Like he was working like a few years earlier, he was working at what's it called? The like one of those like drive-in places, like a drive.
driving movies.
No, I can't remember the chain of the name of the chain right off the
Oh,
top.
like In and Out Burger, like one of those
Yeah,
jobs.
but like the East Coast ones with like the motels and the orange drinks.
Mm.
Howard Johnson's. He was working as like a waiter in Howard Johnson's, and Gene Hackman said that like when he did acting school with him, Dustin Hoffman, and Robert Duvall. They all
That's some class.
shitty apart. Yeah, they were all like the bottom three of their class, by the way.
can you imagine their roommates too? Can you imagine that those being your roommates, Dustin Hoffman and Gene Hackman in the
Well,
60s?
they weren't those guys yet. They weren't.
No, but regardless, like that must have been so prickly. Gene Hackman as your roommate.
Yeah, it would probably be a little prickly, but Gene Hackman had a teacher at his acting program who said like you are one of the worst performers we've ever had here. And then this when he was serving at Howard
Ouch.
Johnson's, the teacher came in and said, "See, I was right. I knew this would end up happening to you if you pursued this as a career." and he was
Yeah.
just that gave me extra motivation to become good. And then he maybe became the best actor of his generation, like if not one of in the top three of the conversation of that like Jack Nicholson era of actors, because I would say he's probably like of that era the king, but Gene is right there neck and neck with him, especially when you compare their bodies of work. Um,
Yeah, and to think this came like about like 4 years after Bonnie and Clyde. It's like he had a stretch where he definitely had work in between, but none of the movies are movies that have
he was doing off Broadway work.
yeah, he's doing off-Broadway work. He did some movies that like you know aren't really discussed whatsoever today. Like The Split, Riot, Downhill Racer. These are all movies that like generally are not in the public consciousness today.
Yeah, and that late 60s period is kind of like the the death of that old of like the like whatever remains of the studio system, they were dying out at that point. And especially when you have like the hippie movement and free love of like the mid to late 60s going on there, Hollywood was struggling to connect with its audience. It kind of reminds me of today, especially when some Academy Award nominations, sans the 2023 to 2024 Oscars, where they actually put movies people saw in them. But like I think of like a movie like Coda won Best Picture, and I think Doctor Dolittle, like the original Doctor Dolittle, won Best Picture in like 1968 or something like that. And people are like, "Why you don't make movies for us?" And it's like the French Connection is one of those like movies that leads to The Godfather and showing this like changing environment and like leads to the 70s film like of just like true authors like making films and just the studios getting taken over by these corporations. They have no idea how to make a movie. They just say, hey, that sounds like a pretty cool idea. Here's $5 million. Go make it. Have fun. Bye.
No, and but like what's cool about it, I think, is that it does have those like, elements of familiarity that you do see in movies that like, came out afterwards. But there were some things in it that I thought that made it original, that did make it kind of stand out. Like, for example, they really don't use music a lot in this movie. Did you guys notice that? Like,
The score was sparingly used. Yeah,
it was like, they really picked and choose when to include music. And when they picked to include music, it wasn't where you would normally put it. Like in the background during any of the like, chase scenes, or like, any of the like the background during like the shootout scenes. You just got like raw A-roll, or that's right, A-roll, or
the
is it
sound effects.
B-roll?
You just got the sound
B-roll.
effects that they were using
Yeah.
for it. And yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, and that's why Bill Friedkin was chosen to do this movie. Like the producer, Phil D'Antoni, said that he wanted somebody with a documentary background to make this. They wanted it to be real and lived in and kind of like that grimy thing. And like Friedkin, I don't know if he hadn't done any big features. Not looking
Yeah.
at filmography right now, but he was just he was really young, like in his early 20s, and just got this opportunity and basically made a huge name for himself with
Yeah.
this.
Well, there's so many moments of this movie that are so well directed. That freaking
Oh.
has like the whole foot chase scene just in the beginning where it's Gene Hackman's going after the drug smuggler Alan Charnier, and they're on the subway, and he's like Gene Hackman's trying to act aloof. He cannot do it to save his life, but he keeps on going in and out, in and out, in and out. And he's like, let me go over to the stand right here and like look over at Alan Cheer while I'm pretending to buy like an apple or something like that. Just such a great little tightly wound sequence for literally just a stakeout right there, and it's so compelling.
Yeah, it's yeah, and like even like early on, like the introduction where we see Gene Hackman in a Santa Claus costume,
Amazing all time.
undercover,
That was pretty awesome.
Schneider working a hot dog cup. That's how we're introduced to these two characters, as Gene Hackman is singing Christmas carols to these kids, and then chases down a drug bust that basically tells him like, hey, like this is where I'm getting it, but there's big drug shipments continue like coming in, and that kind of like sparks the interest in the group in the duo to start investigating this more thoroughly. Yeah, this movie is a masterclass in tension building. This movie is so tense.
Yeah. And
Oh
again,
yeah.
like that's really where the elements of like lack of music kind of make the scenes way more tense. And especially like, when you think about when this movie was shot, this was like pre-computers here. So like, when you're looking at the edits, you're looking at like, scene by scene, like, they're letting it run essentially. So like when you're
Mm.
watching it,
They're doing
that like
snipping. They're looking at the zeros through that little machine and making the cuts on the film, like
yeah,
definitely on the film, making cuts like
you know.
crazy stuff.
But it makes the shots held for a longer period of time if you think about it. Like
Well,
think about the scene after the car chase where like they finally get to the guy and he like breaks so he jumps out of the subway car and he's climbing on the scaffold. That you're going step by step with them, like where it's gonna end because Gene Hackman's at the end of the fucking staircase at the end, but it seems like it just drags, but it builds that tension up, man, because like, it really has that, like, we started where this guy was on the roof with a sniper rifle. Then you have Gene Hackman who goes all the way up the stairs only to find that the guy's all the way back downstairs. Then he goes all the way downstairs and somehow catches up with him.
All right, so,
Like,
we're just gonna dive right into the
yeah.
card. This is the most famous
But
sequence.
but also, I just want to touch on Steve what he was talking about. This movie won Best Film Editing at the Oscars
Oh
for
yeah,
a reason.
No
over
shit.
and it won over Clockwork Orange, which is a movie that is also very
get
well
out of here.
edited.
Wow.
So I mean, when you go off like those two, I mean, I can't have any like fault with French Connection winning because like Steve was saying, it's just like that documentary feel right there that just lingers and let just play out. We don't have a bunch
Yeah.
of like jump cuts over and over and over again.
It
We
builds
just like
that tension.
we
You know,
just let it linger, a cranberry style.
and that's like if you're gonna contrast it to Clockwork Orange, that's where it differs because Clockwork Orange had a fuck ton of jump cuts, but what was being shown on the screen was way more fucked up than what was going on in the French Connection. It was a very
Yeah.
straightforward movie, the French Connection. Don't you like
the
a monkey
French,
can follow
the
it.
French Connection, like winning Best Picture in a contemporary lens, is like mind-boggling to me. Like if you were talking about a movie like this being released today, like wouldn't even sniff the Oscars, wouldn't even sniff their coattails,
Oh no,
despite deserving a lot of the awards because it does it well. But just like when I think Oscars, I think character-heavy films, character exploration, like heavier subject. And yes, this is drug smuggling, but it's in an action-oriented scenario. It's treated like a 90s action movie, but kind of creating the genre at that time. Like, so for the Academy, it's like this revolutionary piece of filmmaking because, like, when we were texting, the three of us were texting before we all watched the movie, and I was like, they were like, "Oh yeah, it's on Prime or whatever. I'm gonna watch it on Prime." I'm like, "Oh, I actually got the Blu-ray from my
For
grandpa's."
once, you were the physical media head.
Yeah, I know. Tommy goes, "Oh yeah, this feels like a grandpa action movie," and it's not a grandpa action movie.
I did not mean that derisively. I meant that
No,
as
I
this
know.
is
I
a
don't.
movie that Grandpa would be like, "Fuck yeah."
Oh,
Um,
of course he would, but that's because it rocks. But my
it
point
does.
is that that they is that like if we pulled an action movie from like 1964 and just covered it on the podcast, do you think we'd be saying some nice things about it or some mean things about it? Like being like, I guess for its time, it's pretty good, right? Like I don't think.
Well, even if we go back to From Russia with Love, I remember I was kind of lukewarm in that movie. Where I mean, I thought like obviously the Bond form is what it is, but that movie does not compare to like more modern Bonds or even just like 10 years later, 20 years later.
Goldfinger is the one that like Goldfinger still holds up today. I will stand by
But
that.
also,
I love that movie.
we're comparing also just like movies that weren't nominated for Best Picture. This was in terms of like action movies, modern ones have been nominated. Where like Top Gun Maverick got nominated, which is insane.
Well,
Um,
that one felt like it. That one had no shot of winning, but that felt like this was the biggest movie of the year. It's really critically filed. Let's
Yeah.
see if we can get some eyeballs on this thing, even though we have Jimmy Kimmel hosting. But I mean, it's true. They can never let that guy host it again.
No.
But like like just think about what this is. Like we get characterizations of Popeye and Sonny. We get like little tidbits, but like there's no like character arcs in this movie.
No. Well, I think that's what really gives it that pre-established sort of realism mood because, like, you know, you have these guys who, okay, they're New York City cops. Great, we understand their relationship. You know, there's really no big character development. There's no like love connection or lovers quarrel with any of the other characters going on the side. It's what you see is what you get. This is what happened. We're sticking to the facts of what happened in this story, which is true. So,
And I
like,
do like that they jumping around, but that they don't get the guy at the end. That the guy gets away.
In real life,
I know it's based on a true story, but you feel like you could have easily seen the Hollywood version of this, or
well,
like all of
and
a
I
sudden
mean, this
he
is
kills
like,
him at the end.
well, I was
That's
ex-
what French. That's
I
what
was
French
expecting
Connection 2 is. He
I was
chases
expecting
after the guy.
I was expecting Popeye to die personally, because like I'm just thinking, if I'm thinking 70s movie, like one of the main characters, it was either gonna be Roy Scheider or because
mhm.
I also at this point I had no clue it was based on a true story. So I thought I thought either Popeye or Roy Scheider was kaputs, like gone. See ya. No, it kind of ends like abruptly with these title cards, which indicated to me I was like, oh, this is probably based on a true story now, because they were
Yeah.
given title cards for these characters instead of like a card fade to black. Um, but like
Well, it's what's interesting about like in a way like how open ended it is. I know it's based on a true story and how it just
they
goes up
got the
right
guy
there.
they got the guy in the true story.
Yeah, yeah, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's insane to think like, did either of you guys know that there's a French Connection too?
I found out after.
Yeah,
I didn't.
exactly.
I
Yeah,
didn't.
Steve is finding out right now. We talk about these days about how like sequels can ruin like the original, but in a way, French Connection 2, it got decent reviews from what I could check on Rotten Tomatoes, but it's forgotten to time. It does not affect the legacy of this movie. French Connection 2 is basically he gets the guy in the end, finally.
And
So they just made up a story about a true story.
Yeah. Basically, essentially, I watched the trailer before we recorded. French Connection 2 is that Gene Hackman goes to France to track down the guy that got away in the end of the movie.
yes,
And
because
Roy Scheider's not back in it. It's just Gene Hackman and the guy from the original movie. The
Yeah.
That sucks.
yes, because NYPD definitely has jurisdiction in France to get their guy.
Yeah, no,
It's-
sure. We'll pay for your ticket.
yeah.
Yeah, and they like yeah, I kind of want to touch on the real guys here, Eddie Egan and Sonny Grosso, because like a lot of this is based on like their lives. I'd mentioned before. One of the main people they follow is Sal Boca, who was, you know, a heroin importer. He worked for a bigger guy. And they see it's kind of abrupt how it starts in the movie. Like, and I would argue that like that first 15 minutes, not that it's bad, but it doesn't, I don't think it compares to the rest of the movie. I think it's just like kind of a clunky introduction to it, because they go to the Copacabana, and based on a true story, the Popeye, like they walk into the Copa and we see Popeye like kiss this bartender who worked there, and they were just explaining this in the documentary. He's like, yeah, you know, he had a girl that was there, and if he got there before 12, she would go home with him, and if she wasn't there by 12, she'd go home with whoever asked. And like that was where they actually discovered, they saw Sonny there, they saw them celebrating a heroin import, and that's what led them to start like scoping these guys out. And we see them like scoping out his luncheonette, which was basically just used as a way to funnel drug money and launder it, um, as like a front. That's where a lot of the like drug deals going down. And I think a lot of it is based on that true story, except for the car chase. The
Yeah.
car chase is a work of fiction. Producer Philip D'Antoni, he worked on a movie with Steve McQueen called The Bullet, which was well known for its car chase scene. It was at the time considered the greatest car chase ever put to film. And he said, I only have one note for this entire movie. Make sure this car chase is better than the one in The Bullet.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much just putting it on blast. Like, okay, we gotta go fucking ahead this. I
Yeah,
still haven't seen Bullet, so that's a future movie we should cover. Just
yeah,
saying.
we should
I
definitely
haven't either.
do a Steve McQueen movie. We haven't covered any. Like I
I,
feel
I,
like back
I
in,
don't think I've seen any Steve McQueen's, maybe one or two.
I don't know if I have either. But
Oh,
I
I've seen The Magnificent Seven.
but I think that car chase scene is so genius. And Steve mentioned before, he's walking back, he's getting sniped by the French guy's henchman. He's a great bit heavy, by the way, in this movie. Like
Awesome, heavy.
he's just a heavy, like that's all he is, but he's so intimidating,
Mhm.
especially for like a European Frenchman. Like I'm not trying to offend the French here, but I feel like when we think of like intimidating Europeans, France is probably we might think of
It's
Luxembourg.
not the top of the list.
We think of like the Baltics and we think of Luxembourg before we think of France. And maybe that is all due to World War II. But we don't really think of like tough guys coming out of France. But he is a true cold-blooded thug in this movie. I mean, the movie opens with him just killing this random guy in France.
Yeah. And
um,
one thing I will mention too is when we were texting back and forth, I thought it was funny because we're watching it on Amazon, and I really wanted to know what the fuck they were saying, but they didn't have subtitles back then.
all right,
So
so
I turned on subtitles and it didn't translate for me.
My
no,
Blu-ray
no.
has
So
subtitles.
yeah,
Did
no,
it?
they had
Yeah.
subtitles. No. Steve's talking about, and I wanted to check your guys' gauges because this happens a lot. How do you guys feel about when movies have a foreign language but they don't show subtitles, so they don't translate it for you at
Oh,
all?
it drives me nuts because like I was watching the Blu-ray release of this movie. It was clearly the same text that they used when they released the movie as the subtitles in
That's cool. Yeah.
French. Like
They didn't have
it
any.
was like programmed in there, and it drives me nuts when these streamers are like, "Yeah, they don't need it." It's like, well, it's kind of hard to watch. Like, it's hard to get people to commit to a movie 5 minutes in if I can't even read what is happening on the screen.
Yeah.
I
wish
do
knew
like
what
it
they were
sometimes
saying.
in some movies when it's like a fish out of water movie and you don't know what the person's
Yeah,
screaming at
there's
them.
there's always circumstances to it, and I always like when they use I really like when they use like you'll hear 95% of a conversation with it subtitled, and then they'll start to walk away or whatever, and they're still talking, but the subtitles go away because there's obviously some piece of information they're discussing, but we're not privy
Yeah.
to it, and that's fine. Like I like that. One of
Yeah.
the things I did want to mention, like that I loved how this film did was perspective. There's so many shots of us seeing two of the characters talking, and it's a POV shot, and we can't hear what these characters are saying. Like I think of the stakeout scenes when they're following them around Midtown Manhattan, um, following them from hotel to hotel, kind of like just getting a sense of like who are these guys, and Hackman is eating a slice of pizza, drinking terrible red wine, like scoping out them at this like fancy steakhouse, and we just see
Yeah.
him huddled up, freezing, and then we cut inside and we're watching the Major D cut
This
off.
movie was very New York.
His
and,
movie-
Oh,
his movie was
100%.
yeah,
I knew that
Even-
you love that.
Even going down
Yeah.
to the parking garage and being like, "Where's my ticket? I don't know where my ticket is."
Yeah, this movie is so New York. And I love that it captured that just like grime and grit of that like 70s New York. Like
Yeah.
uh,
Oh,
the-
dude, with the old
Yeah.
RC Cola ads, like on the deli and shit.
And some of the streets are just steam, just full of steam.
yeah, it's very industrial. Like it's when New York was still like an industrial town. Because now all those industrial buildings are just like share office spaces. It's kind of sad to think about who used to
Yeah.
work there and now who does work there. It's like, all right, NYU, we get you, but you shouldn't be here. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love.
I will say I have to agree with you Reese, on your point earlier that the first 15 minutes of this felt a little bit slow and weren't as connected to me. As much as I did love the Gene Hackman surprise, as like surprise I'm Santa motherfuckers. But overall, I feel like it took a minute to get into it. But once you got into it, I was just clicked
Yeah,
it.
once it, because like again, I knew of the French Connection. I knew of the car chase. I
That's all I knew. I knew there was a good car
of
chase.
I knew of the hand wave, and that was all I knew about the movie. No idea about the Academy Awards. I knew it was like one of Gene Hackman's launching pads, basically, but I didn't.
Mm.
I'm watching the first 15 minutes and I'm like, maybe this is my grandpa's action movie, but it's not. It really is not. And I think it's such a testament to the direction and the cinematography. There are so many incredible shots in this movie, just using reflections off of glass, like POV
Or
shots, like
even the concert when they go in the bar and the singers are dancing or talking about the song about like they don't want to die or whatever, or have a good life. The choreography of that was so much fun, and like contrasting that to the cutting to Gene Hackman just at the bar looking like a typical middle-aged fuck.
yeah, and like I can't. I'm trying to emphasize this like as well as I can without having ever like worked in the film industry, but the way that they use the neon lighting of like the buildings of New York, the way they use reflections, the way that they use like angles in glass display cases in the city to showcase what is going on like during these intense chase sequences. It's so good. And like once you get like 15, 20 minutes in and the tension starts to build, it doesn't go away.
Yeah.
And
Well, like
and
you're saying, this is what shoot on location is so important for, because
oh,
just
yeah.
like the natural lights, the natural lighting. I mean, when you try and recreate New York City in the green screen, like so many movies have done today, it does not feel the same. It just feels hokey and fake. Whereas when you shoot on location, your movie automatically is going to be a step up better in certain in cinematography.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you hear the horns, you hear like people passing by, which, I go back to the whole lack of music thing. It really helps like create that, like it puts you in the scene when you hear all the natural sound like of the city that's going on. And Tim, I know that you were like looking at each scene thinking like, oh, I know where that is. I know where
I
that
knew
is.
exactly where this.
Yeah.
I knew where it was in Brooklyn. I knew where we were in, and like
Wow.
they did a
And
really good job with the geography. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm a New York geography guy in movies. I hate when they cut around and they don't go to the right places. They probably didn't, but at least they edited it well enough to not make it visible. Scarface, I'm still remembering you. I cannot believe how long it took you to get to the
So
UN,
pissed off.
and you
that's
were
where I
right
knew
across
how
the street.
obsessive
This
you
is
were.
Timmy's corner. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't do that.
This is where we announce on the podcast that Timmy is launching a tour of all locations for the French Connection. He's
Yes,
going to point them out.
I'm hosting them down here in Nashville, you nitwit.
Yeah. It's going
Um,
to be via Zoom. You're going to have a Zoom camera, so it's good.
You're going to
you're gonna
start in
have a Zoom
Nashville.
camera. I'm gonna
It's
send
gonna-
you to the shadiest part of Brooklyn, and we'll see if you
Gene Hackman was there, and as I get like fucking stabbed.
definitely there. Give me
Gene,
$100,
Hack-
please.
Gene Hackman was over there in Bed-Stuy.
Yeah, I mean,
Real sophisticated.
well,
I'm impressed that you know your way around Brooklyn, Tim. I thought it was
I
just
know
Manhattan.
I know that part of Brooklyn with those overhead. It's either one or two places because it looked like a lot of like Bed-Stuy, Bushwick,
Yeah,
Williamsburg, especially
yeah,
like
no, it was definitely around that area.
they went around the
Williamsburg might have been a little bit of a stretch, but they definitely they brought up Bedford Stuyvesant an awful lot. Like,
yeah, they were in Bed-Stuy, a lot of
Yeah.
it following where the I believe it's
This is how it starts. This is what the tour is going to be like, guys.
yeah, let's not we haven't even fucking talked about the car chase.
yeah,
yet. We
Yeah, so we did
if you guys,
we've
if you guys
gone back and forth to it.
if you guys
A
do
lot.
another one of your tequila rampages and just derail this conversation
I have
again,
another
I'm just
shot
ending
on
the
deck.
pod-
It could happen.
I'm just gonna end the podcast, or I'm gonna kick Tommy out, and Steve and I will finish the podcast.
well, I was the one that started it because I went on my rant about like there being no music and how tense the scene was, and obviously that's the most tense scene in the entire movie, and mostly it's the most iconic scene in the movie. It was on the goddamn movie poster for fuck's
Well,
sake.
I didn't know that the chase was going to be a car versus a train, and just how fucking awesome was that? When I found that out, I was like, "Oh my god!"
How
Yeah.
good was the pacing of it
Yeah,
as Popeye is chasing the heavy through the streets. He gets onto the subway car. The heavy gets on the subway car. He like yells at a beat cop on the train, being like, "Arrest him! I'm police." The cop's like kind of like, "Oh, what?" And he starts to notice this guy like sketchily start walking away. He's like, maybe this guy did do something. Fucking shoots the cop and then commandeers the subway car. Meanwhile, Gene Hackman's on the floor taking out his badge, trying to stop a car. He just stops a car. He's just standing in the middle of the street, like, I need to commandeer your vehicle, which I don't know.
Cops do that.
They definitely don't do that. That's such like
I
a.
would-
It feels like a movie thing.
I see it all the time in movies, and I've always wondered if
I'm
cops can
sure-
actually do that.
Does it
If there are
happen?
any cops listening,
It
to
definitely
this, leave
has
in the
happened.
comments.
It's-
Leave in the
It's happened. It's happened a few
Oh,
times.
it's
but
totally happened. but-
not to the extent that the movies make you think. Where like every time it's like, all right, fuck you, I'm gonna steal your car. It's probably gonna be trash. Don't worry about it. I'm Keanu Reeves. You'll be okay.
Yeah.
Exactly. Be starstruck by me being Gene Hackman while I take your car. The
Exactly.
crazy thing is Gene Hackman fucking drove the stunts with Friedkin in the car themselves. And
Wow.
and
I don't think it was all of it though. I think he has stunt driver too mixed in there.
for a lot of it, like all the shots of him driving it, he is driving at that speed, and and Egan and Grosso, like the real counterparts, had so much sway in the police department. They knew all these cops. So they just basically put calls into all these cops, asked for a favor, and basically just fucked up the traffic. No permits, no city ordinances, no like we're shutting
No way.
That's some real guerrilla filmmaking
it's
right
some
there.
guerrilla filmmaking shit right there. And they are driving like 80 miles per hour, like on weaving in and out of traffic, like guerrilla style. Like I think some of the cars in there are not like extras. They are just like they were just driving to get
Apparent-
where they needed to go. Like it is
Yeah.
real guerrilla filmmaking, that sequence, and you feel it. It's such an adrenaline rush.
But what do you
Like,
do in that
appar-
situation? Like, what if you're a victim of that? Like, does the director come out of the woodwork and be like, "Sorry, here's $50,000 for a new car"?
Probably something like that
Like-
gets fucking settled. But I mean, basically, almost everything was like improvised during the car chase. And the only one that wasn't was like the one with the carriage. That one they rehearsed a ton of times. And one quote I love about Freakin' in this, there's an anecdote in the IMDb about this, where Freakin' operated the camera himself in the back seat during all the car chases because the other camera operators were married with children, and he wasn't. So like, yeah, whatever, I'll do it. I'm like in my early 20s, whatever.
Like and like
I can risk it.
we spoke about this with him on The Exorcist, and like he is definitely in the Kubrick realm of like abrasive filmmaker who's just going to do whatever the hell it takes to get the shot right. Like he doesn't care. He's not no intimacy coordinators on his set. He's just going to do it, and you're going to deal with it, and you're going to live on to fight another day. But it and the editing in that sequence is so good too, because you're following two separate modes of transportation, one right below the other, and they just somehow are able to intertwine like just these aerial overhead shots of the car and the train, just kind of like giving us a sense of where they are. There's this one great shot where it just like pans out wide from like the sidewalk angle through a couple of trees, and we just see like the car and the subway like going
Yeah.
simultaneously with him like right beneath it. It is just
Mm.
it might be the best car chase sequence I've ever seen in a film.
It's
Because
pretty good.
there's a certain point where you just get locked in too. You're like, oh my god, like is he gonna make it in time? Because it's just like going over and over again. Because you know, like this being the ticking clock of is the train gonna get to the station on time? And then at that point, like where's the train going after it doesn't go to the station?
It's not even that, because he doesn't know that the train's been commandeered. He's just trying to get to one station over, and and then he realizes, oh, this guy's definitely
The train keeps going.
the train keeps going, and then they crash into another subway car. If you do want to know an error of logistics, they were showing an N train on the outside, and then they crashed into a train. I believe it was an F train.
This will all be on the tour, guys. Don't worry.
That is
They're not on the same
I
line.
don't know what the lines looked like in the 19s.
70s, but they're not that now.
The
But-
the F and the N do not run on the same line.
No, they don't.
But it's just such a
Can
great
confirm.
moment of action filmmaking because, first of all, the stakes aren't super fucking high. You can imagine very easily that Gene Hackman could fuck this up during this part of the movie or not get the guy, or the guy could get away. We
What
don't
do you
need
mean
like
the stakes aren't that high.
no, they aren't like fucking super fucking life or death in the way that so many action movies today I feel like just raise the stakes to be like the world's gonna end if he doesn't do this. We don't need that. We just need.
Well, I mean,
Low-
the lead would have gotten away for pretty much ever if he hadn't caught this guy right now. So, I mean, you could say that it was life or death in another aspect of it.
But you know what I mean? It's more personal. It's more man versus man than man versus like fucking everything.
I mean, yeah, but I thought that really the worst the most unrealistic part of the whole chase. Weren't that the F and N weren't on the same line, but it was that Gene Hackman ran up a flight of stairs while a guy was running down a flight of stairs, saw the guy from the top of the building running away, and then somehow was able to catch up with the guy.
Hmm.
So,
If there's only one guy walking down a pretty open viewed avenue,
yeah, I mean, I guess it's hard
That's
to
your-
lose sight of him, but then
that's your
Gene
guy.
had to run all the way down the flight of stairs of that building just to
listen,
catch up with him.
there is just some things called movie logics. If you want to go on CinemaSins and do
Well, I
it,
want to know what happened.
This
in
is
the
not that
actual chase.
podcast, Steve.
this is not the
No,
podcast.
no,
Like
no, this is. No, yes, this is because I want to know what happened.
'Cause
in
I'm
that
on this
actual
one.
chase. All right, because I'm here and we're talking about it. And
This is
I
where
wanna-
Steve gets his soapbox.
I want to know if there was an actual subway crash because I've never seen one. I've never heard of one. Did that happen in real life?
What, do you think a subway crash has never happened before? Yes, it's happened. It's been on the fucking news before. I've seen
I
it before.
suppose, but
Yeah.
like, did they add that
You
in
could
for
just-
dramatic effect?
The-
for
the
movie,
whole-
or
the
did
whole
it-
Well, I don't know if it happened in the real thing. Obviously, the whole chase is like fabricated.
The whole chase sequence didn't happen. The producer's just like, I just want to chase sequence.
Ah,
Steve, there's a subway accident last year in New York City.
Okay.
Shut up, Tommy.
Tangent City, right here.
All right, we're at an hour. Back to the movie here. The
Reel it
subway
in.
chase did happen with Popeye staking the drug lord, and he did do the little wave at him, and then it parallels nicely to the
Yeah.
ending where they get them down at Randall's Island. Oh, I loved seeing that exit is still there. It is still the same thing on the tri-boat.
Yes, yes, it
the
is.
exact same exit. It made me
Such a
so
pain in
happy.
the ass. I hate
Made
it.
me so happy to see that where they pin them in and they have the nice shootout where they're chasing the French guy and all the other guys get arrested. Also, real quick, because we're running over here. I loved the reveal of where the drugs were hidden in like the little padding at the bottom of the car. Because I
Yeah.
was just like, hey, you idiots, like the whole time I'm just like, rip open the chair. It's going to be in the chair. It's going to be in the chair. They're just gonna shove it in the fabric and you cut it open and it's like, nope. They hid that thing in the last place the mechanic would have it. And actually, that mechanic was the guy that the real Popeye worked with in the NYPD like mechanic squad. Like that guy,
Real mechanic.
he was an actual mechanic, but they were like, he's such a lively character. Just put him in
That's
there.
awesome.
And he'll
That's
be
like in Goodfellas, the witness protection program guy. That was the real witness protection program guy that put Henry Hill on. I love when movies do that.
I did not know that, but that is a interesting.
Yeah. Have me on for more Guinea movies. I got you.
I am a star. I'm a star, I'm a star, I'm a star. I am a big, bright, shining star.
Well, for all our non-Italian listeners who left after that,
Oh,
he's Italian. He can say it. Tommy and I can't say it. But
Yeah.
who's the star of this movie, guys? We haven't really talked about the performances. It's one of those movies that like Gene Hackman absolutely elevates this to such a command
to be Gene
performance, but
Hackman.
it is a bit of a movie where you look at the plug and play list and you go, yeah, I guess any of these guys probably could have done it. Like the first choice for Popeye was Peter Boyle, the dad on Everybody Loves Raymond.
wow.
You can kind of see that. They wanted Jackie Gleason. They wanted Steve McQueen. Charles Bronson was considered. So
I don't think Jackie Gleason was running up those stairs. I'll be honest with you.
yeah,
No,
not
it was
that
very
age.
serious.
Jackie Gleason would probably have had to have dropped some weight by the year 1970. to make that. But for you guys, who do you think was the best performance of this movie?
Yeah, without a doubt, Gene Hackman. I mean, he carries the movie. I mean, it just his like even just reaction shots when he's like during the car chase, or even when he's like telling everyone about like run away as Santa or anything like that. He's fantastic in this movie. We haven't talked much about Roy Scheider. I feel like I haven't seen a lot of prime Roy movies like from his like 70s era other than Jaws. So it's good to see him pop
and Sorcerer.
and Sorcerer. So it's good to see him pop up again. I mean, this is before his Jaws breakout, and
This was his like first breakout, basically, but Jaws was bigger than the French Connection, obviously. But yeah, I mean, I love Roy Scheider. He plays the perfect straight man, perfect comparative to Gene Hackman, who gets to play off with like more of like expressive anger and bigger personality. versus
Hmm.
Sonny, who's a little more timid and the guy on the nose, but always believes in his partner. But yeah, it's Gene Hackman's movie, like, and it's kind of one of those things where it's like, yeah, you could plug and play guys, but I don't think the French Connection quite has the same reputation that it has if anybody else but Gene Hackman plays the movie.
Yeah, you knew that's surely Gene Hackman-ness to it.
I'd say so.
Are you ready, comedy partner? Waka waka.
All right, guys. Muppet time. Would The French Connection, a movie about heroin smuggling, be a good subject for a Muppet adaptation?
My
Tom?
answer is always yes. It is always yes. I just want to see Muppets do some outlandish shit. I think it'd
Yeah,
be fun.
This is basically the Happy Time Murders. I mean,
Stop
what?
quoting that movie. We haven't even seen it.
Well, yeah, it's the premise where it's just like a gritty cop movie with Muppets.
I think that they use enough red paint for blood spatter to make it fake enough where people wouldn't bat an eye if a Muppet showed up out of nowhere.
Yeah, and like I feel like if you had who would be Popeye, who would be Gene Hackman? I'm trying to think because like
Would you
I-
keep Gene?
who
I think it'd be Bert and Ernie on the case.
you know what I'm sold.
Oh,
I know they're Sesame Street Muppets, but I'm
Oh.
sold on that. That would be very
how
fun.
they not done that? I mean, I
Then
guess
you have
it's because they're
You
too
have
family friendly.
You have Kermit playing the drug lord,
Yes, he'd be the
Perfect.
French. He could be the
And
French
you
guy,
and you have
or
Sam-
Fozzie Bear because he has that fucking stupid hat.
No,
they both
Fozzie Bear. Fozzie Bear plays the heavy.
Yeah, Fozzie Bear would be the heavy, and then
And then pick your Muppet to fill in the rest of the movie. It doesn't matter. But
I love it.
We
There's,
need
like-
a Bert and Ernie buddy cop movie. It's just shocking if
We-
they haven't done
yeah.
a parody.
yes, Bert and Ernie in the titular roles here. All right, fellas, review time. Give us your score to 5. Upstairs, Steve. We're gonna kick it over to you.
I'm giving it a 4 out of 5. It laid the framework for a lot of action movies. It's a very iconic movie. I didn't realize how iconic of a movie it was going in. I didn't realize it was a true story until after Gene Hackman died. I think that this movie checks a lot of boxes for cinematography everywhere. 4 out of 5 without question.
Tommy, what about you?
I'm gonna echo Steve's sentiments. I'm gonna go 4 out of 5 here. I think that this movie is just a visual feast. I mean, I don't think there's much in terms of like this wasn't a great performance movie for me, whereas more carried by the direction and cinematography and amazing action scenes and like the car chase just fucking rocks. And this is a really fun movie. So 4 out of 5.
I almost nominated William Friedkin for our star of the show because man, this is some directing masterclass. I'm going to give this 4.5 out of 5.
Ooh.
Yeah, this is a very rare first, or not first, but a rare time where my score is higher than Tommy's. I think if the first 15 minutes of this movie were a little bit tighter, it could have been a 5 for me. I think
That's why a 4 out of 5 for me. Yeah, the first 15 minutes.
whole star. Dang, Tommy. I just was totally compelled, totally engrossed. Also, this movie's an hour and 46 minutes. So lovely. Love watching a movie that's that length.
It felt
Didn't
like
even feel it.
like that.
The movie ended, and I'm like, I want to watch it again.
Yeah.
Like, I love this movie. It's so stylistic. It's so intense. You really get invested in the story, and you have a great time doing it. It does not feel like it was made in 1971. It feels contemporary 54 years later. And for a film to start Gene Hackman's career, launch it into the stratosphere, this is a good one for him. 4.5 out of 5. Highly recommend checking this one out. All right, fellas, great episode. We probably derailed a little bit. I'm blaming Tommy and the tequila.
That
I
was
think
best
that-
of us.
I think that's a quarter of the reason why our viewers tune in these days. I hope not, but
Tommy's descent
for
into
your guys'
alcohol.
sakes.
Join us next week for Tommy's descent into alcoholism. Continue.
Oh, there's been some worse episodes. I think on ET, I was like barely coherent.
You know, but that was like in the first 6 months. Those episodes don't count.
Can
Yeah.
we try feeding Tommy grain alcohol before?
No. No,
the
because
next
there
one?
won't be an episode. It will just be
Just
a
get
one-
Blackout Tommy, and I get canceled immediately because of like shit Blackout Tommy says.
You don't say. I've seen you black out. You don't say anything that bad. You
You
just
fall asleep is
you
really
fall
what
asleep.
happens.
You
Yeah.
fall asleep. You potentially vomit, and you. I don't know. You kind of zone out. Like you're either asleep or you're just standing there. You're not really talkative when you're.
I will say,
That's
Tom,
true.
like when I first met Tommy, actually, it was really staggering because what really stood out to me is that he's the first person I've ever seen fall asleep standing up.
It's
And
a very talented skill of mine.
Tim, you were there.
Yeah.
It was that open bar night, and I was like, hey, like like, is he actually asleep? And you're like, yeah, well, he just kind of is taking a quick nap. He'll be all right.
He's a remarkable human being. That time
He
we
really
love
is.
we
Really is.
joke on him, but we love him.
We do.
First thing, Steve, thank you so much for joining us this week. Where can the people find you?
Y'all already know where to find me. Big_Mooch821 on the Instagram. If you want that raw, uncut, uncensored Steve Muccioli, you can hit me up on the Snapchat. That's SNUCC6. And yeah, I love being on here, guys. I appreciate you having me on. And I hope your viewers like it when I'm on too, because I ain't going anywhere, you motherfuckers.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna be on for Superman. We'll definitely have you on before that too.
We gotta do
Yeah.
we gotta do True Romance too.
Yes, we have a lot to do. Fuck.
We got a lot to do. We got a lot to cover this year. It's gonna be a good year on the podcast.
It's gonna be a good summer.
Any final thoughts before we wrap up this episode?
Tommy should
Well,
take
thank
another
you.
tequila shot.
Yeah, just start ripping them like one by one.
Ripping him
Five
on a Tuesday. Yeah, good idea, guys.
Yeah. Anyways, this is our thank you for tuning in for our longest episode ever. You can find us on social media. That's at CNET That's on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and the occasional thread. You can also find us on Blue Sky, and we are podcnet.bluesky.social. So, and also leave us a 5-star review. Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Helps us out, helps us grow the show. And
Yeah, guys, just fucking do it. All right, like
yeah,
leave them
just leave the 5 stars. We deserve it.
Guys, just leave them a 5 fucking star review.
You made it this far. We do deserve it at this point.
Listen,
we don't push that garbage at the beginning. We push it at the end when you probably have clicked off the episode anyway.
Listen,
I do just want
5
to
stars.
sat here when Tommy started mentioning Threads. I was pretty vocal critic of it, and to Tommy's credit, a social media platform that I don't think he's posted on in 3 months, he still says it just to get under my skin, and I appreciate that about him so much.
I think I posted on it like a week ago. I think I
Okay,
posted a most recent episode of it.
I don't have it. Thank you all so much for listening.
Well, anyways, also Timmy, real quick.
No.
I think next week, I think we should cover a movie that celebrated its 60th anniversary. I've never seen it before. The Sound of Music.
And end the episode. End the episode. Cut to the music.
Stop doing this at the end of the movie. Thank you all so much for listening to the episode. We're just about to do Sunset Boulevard for what, its 75th anniversary. Come on.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you all so much for listening today. This has turned into a train wreck at the end. Thank you all so much for listening.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time.